Today's topic.
How do you think actively you can dismantle anti-black attitude first in your personal circle?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
I like how the Mexican guy's like, I don't understand your Indian accent. From one brown person to she goes, how do we dismantle anti-black? Nobody, even I was like, thank you for putting the subtitles. It's very rare that the producer has to put subtitles for their own accent. I'm not mad at the accent because I like it.
I seek to make people that feel anti-blackness, that are struck by the sight of it or the existence of it.
This guy speaks like a poet. I feel that I have to speak the way that I beak like a bird. Yes, you heard the way I soar through the skies. Girl, I'm taking a piece of the pie. It's mine. It's time. It's Himes singing within churches. Girl, you know I got the blurches. Huh? That's not a word. Yeah? You know you heard. Ha, 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 said Santa. He never came with the presents. Why? I don't know. I stayed up with all them cookies. He lie. You know I'm a poet. I never die. I stay in the poems.
Yeah.
I've got the afro. Yeah. Do you got the afro?
I don't have the afro. I have the pick. That's why I get picked into the line where I get picked off by the cops. Segregation going through my veins. And like the slave, blood of a slave, body of a king. King.
Ding. That's the sound of the bell. My man just tapped out. That's the sound of a hell. We've broken out on our way to heaven. Girl, there is no safe haven for black people. We are the people that brought you goodness. My goodness. Your goodness. Your hoodness. Your highness. Kangs. Things. Pangs in your hair. Nappy. With the pick. Pick me. But I ain't no pick me nigga. Sorry, I don't know. I get hyped when I do that.
You gotta get hyped.
Yeah.
You gotta get hyped.
Yeah, sorry.
And repeat 3 times.
Sorry.
I seek. I mean, you gotta.
I got a turban on, but I'm not a Sikh. You got to do that. Feeling birds like I'm feeling self. Huh? Who's that replying to myself?
I think.
I don't know. Gosh, sorry.
How can I be anti in my inner circle? I wonder if they're going to ask this question to black people. Of course not.
No, they're not.
Because we can't
be anti-racist.
Our existence is anti-racist.
I remember, I feel bad calling my family out. We were at the DMV once and my mom made a comment about, well, you're in America, you should speak English, because someone was speaking to their family member in, I think, a Middle Eastern language. And
I do find that annoying, though. I do find it annoying when two people are having a conversation between each other and then this random person will just come by and be like, why won't you speak English? It's our private conversation. We do things the way that we want to do.
Are you eavesdropping? Why you need to know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it's just that insecurity that gets on my nerves. And it happens here to a whole lot. Excusez-moi. Ton Québec, c'est ta français. And like, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah. If there's one thing that if you're receiving a service and the person's not speaking one of the official languages, that I understand. But if two people are having a private conversation, mind your business.
Well, mind you,
stop being such a nosy ass person.
Within like the Hispanic community, a common comment that's brought up is that they don't want their daughters and sons to marry or date black people.
That's a fact, Jack.
This is not something I heard secondhand either. Firsthand, I had girlfriends who'd be like, yo, my dad is really upset that you're black. It's a reality.
Out of my entire family, I'm actually the only one who is in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And it is very difficult to talk to my family. One thing that I want to do is to get together and perhaps have like a movie night and suggest, for example, 13th, that does explore the concept of systemic racism.
The people know
Or Boys in
around
the Hood.
13th is actually a good documentary on Netflix that you can watch right now for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
I remember the first Slur when I was like 4 or 5. These guys were like, your skin looks like poop, you know, you smell like shit. We don't want to play with you, you're the color of shit. So it was kind of like, okay, I knew from very young that I was going to encounter, you know, these attitudes.
A typical one.
Yeah.
Ew, the lights caca. That's a typical. So much memories.
In Hispanic culture, we refer to some African Americans as negritos.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a good drink.
Can I have two negritos, please? And that shit sounds delicious, bro.
I just think of mojitos and it rhymes with negritos.
Negritos. It's like, yeah. Can I have two negritos, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound like a good looking drink.
All right.
So they had a full day worth of training, and in this training, someone opened up in that conversation and she was saying how she's a white woman who has a son who's a white male, a teenager, and she has recently been so fearful of how he's interpreting everything in the way that he might be exposed to a group of people who have a mindset that, you know, Black lives don't matter.
Okay, she just was fearful of her son being a racist. Is that all you wanted to say?
Sure. He's doing it in his best HR voice.
C'est vraiment ça.
Yeah. So just let him use HR thing.
Yeah.
He works in human resources. So let him be human resource.
Let me.
It got her so emotional that she was in tears because she was asking for help. How do I educate my son to make sure he understands this? And just by having that conversation, you know, it opened up a lot of doors.
It's seen as unprofessional to have braids or to have twists.
Hey, she's back. You don't remember her?
No, who that is?
It's the girl from the other video where they had to do Guess Who's Black and they had blindfolds on.
Oh, yeah. You just think about the booty.
Huh?
Dirty son of a...
I don't know anything about booty.
Dirty son
But
of
I do
a...
got a sweet tooth and I like cakes. Let's go. Good to see you again.
And those are protective styles of Black women and men.
Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely than white women to die in childbirth. And that's because there's these stereotypes that Black women are strong and aggressive compared to white women being fragile and feminine. And so it really has an impact on how Black people express their pains and how it's received by healthcare professionals.
It is important to listen, and you want to listen with the intent to understand. A lot of times people listen with the intent to reply to everything, and we just want to be understood.
We have to put defenses down and stop assuming that.
An easy thing that every individual can do is to vote. You know, on your local level, your local government, on for the presidential election.
There was a certain point that I was not attracted to like Black folks, like Black men. And I think it's because of the implicit bias that I had growing up. I try to recognize within myself in certain situations, and I try to fight against it.
And now you take black dick.
Because you're not so scared anymore. we ain't for this one.
No.
We ain't for this one.
I don't know. I think it's because it's Jubilee. This is supposed to be profound, but it really doesn't feel like it. So I can't feel like I'm connecting with
I understand. I understand.
If you want to see, is police brutality a problem, you can just look it up. It's right there.
America, oftentimes the real color that they see is green, and if we can research where we put our money and see what they're doing with it, who are they donating it to, are they using your money to oppress Black people, then you need to take your dollars and put it into companies that are more progressive.
This is by far the best answer I've heard this whole time.
thus far.
By far. That and the voting person had the most insightful answers. The reality is a lot of these racial problems are solved by green, by money. Americans are way more capitalistic than they are.
True.
Okay, slavery wasn't born because they hated black people. They were born because they loved money, and by virtue, they wanted cheap labor, so they went through slaves. But be rest assured, the real color that they see first is green. And then from there, everything else is born.
Jackie Robinson.
Yes.
They were more about their money than they were about like their because they still hate black people. But that dude,
he was so talented.
I'm like, I'm more about my capital than I'm about my morals.
Yeah.
So
this isn't to absolve them of anything.
I'm gonna let him play,
Yeah.
and that's what happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought I had so many good things to say. Use whatever privilege you can to amplify black voices.
They say I talk way like, oh, you're the whitest black girl I've ever met. And I hate it. I've always hated it. But in the moment, I'm like, ah, but it's not okay.
Being brave, that sounds probably silly, but I think it can be really, really hard to have conversations like this and just taking the first step of like opening it up, even when it's really uncomfortable.
Anti is not a one-day thing. It is something that will take the rest of our lives.
You know, I think I realized it. I think I'm so biased against Jubilee that this video started, and I was just like, ugh. And then they had that whole like in the dark, low light, the music playing in the background, as if something profound was being said, but it feels like it's just advice you'd hear often. That being said, at the end of the day, they're trying to do a good thing. They're trying to put in a positive spin on this whole issue, so you can't fault them for that. I'd be curious to see more tangible examples of what that looks like, because I feel like they talked about a lot of these things in the abstract, but I think it's hard to put an image on what those things look like unless you're seeing them in application. Use your privilege to help black people. Great.
I don't know what that means.
How do you do that?
But again,
how does it look like for you? I feel like if they would have come at this with more personal examples to showcase how, that would have been great. Like the person who said, vote, that's an effective way to put pressure. I like that idea. The person who said money, right, applying pressure in that regards, I really like that idea. But for the rest of them, everything was abstract. And I felt like because of that, it was hard for me to really connect because I'm tired of hearing abstract. I'm tired of hearing, oh, guys, I support you. What does that mean, though?
You know, when they talking about amplifying the black voice, it's a bit what they did at that Blackout Tuesday, you know, the big sale that they had. It's not a sale, but it really sounded like that. It's really like for a day you shut up for all the black voice to be heard. I understand why it is there and what they mean by amplifying. And yes, at some point they mean shutting up. But I mean, that's not my way of doing things. Whenever I wanted to understand something, I had to be able to do a back and forth. Shutting up never really worked. When I was in school, I didn't just stay there and shut up. The class I was performing the most was when I was able to have a back and forth with a teacher, when I was able to raise my hand and question some things and even challenge some things that he was saying so I could better understand. Shutting up wouldn't have helped it. I get what you're saying, but it doesn't mean I agree with it. It doesn't mean that I understand it. It doesn't mean that I approve of it. It just means that I got that information. Doesn't mean that I agree. So the back and forth thing, amplifying the black voice, sure, I understand where that's from. But if we're not able to have like a discussion, what's the point? And that's pretty much what I think. Tell us what you think. Don't forget we have a Patreon. We have the podcast as well. And you know, don't forget you can hit that like button, that subscribe button, that bell, ding-a-ling-a-dong, leave a comment. You know, algorithm helps us. So thank you very much for being here. And you know, tell us what you think.